Pennie, you ready to get going? Let's do this thing.
Let's do it.
Okay, 4-minute intro. We did well here. With the number one overall pick in the 2022 NBA draft, I'm going to break Matthew Pennie's heart.
Here it comes.
I am taking Chet Holmgren for the Orlando Magic. I have been firmly on the Jabari Smith train for a long time.
Yes.
And I love Jabari Smith. I think, frankly, he's probably a little bit better of a fit with Orlando than Chet is. I just would feel really dumb not taking my number one overall player at number one. Regardless of the fit, I think Chet Holmgren has the highest upside of any player in this class. I think his anticipation defensively is the best, defensive awareness that I have seen in a prospect in a long time. And on top of that, he plays a style of basketball that is tailor-made for the modern NBA. I don't think he's going to have any problem playing and staying on the court in the playoffs because he's mobile enough to switch. He can shoot. He can play, and handle the ball out on the break a little bit. He can grab and go. I also think Orlando is relatively well set up to insulate him early in his career as he develops with the presence of Wendell Carter there.
Yeah.
Wendell Carter is going to be able to take on a lot of the tougher assignments at the center position early on as Chet comes in, can play more of the Evan Mobley style role with Cleveland where he played as a four-man. Now, Evan's a bit more mobile than Chet is. I don't necessarily see him as being that good as a switch defender as Evan is. I think Evan is a genuinely special guy in that regard. But I really, at the end of the day, I would feel dumb not taking my best player. If this is a what we should do mock draft, I would feel dumb not taking my number one overall player, even though I have the split between Chet and Jabari as razor thin. I think it is so close.
It's definitely close. Chet's number one on my board, as we know. We've discussed many, many times over. From the role, right? Like he can come in and from day one defend, run the floor, beat big from the perimeter. He's also working with a shooting coach, and the form looks improved. It does. He still shot 39% from three, and the narrative saying he has a broken jumper makes it seem like he shot 25% from three, which isn't true. And when you have 14 points per game, just under 10 rebounds, 3.7 blocks in 27 minutes, while not even really showing the full package either. I mean, I've watched Chet in grassroots. I watched him in college. I watched him pre-draft. There's more to him than what he showed. He's accepted that role as a number two next to Jalen Suggs growing up. He had his star moments at Gonzaga, but it was still kind of Drew Timmy's team. So he's okay being this plus role guy. And it makes me encouraged too that he can start slow, still have an impact, and possibly be an actual dude by year three there.
Yeah. Is there a narrative that Chet's shot is broken?
Just that it's kind of slow. It happened. So what happened was it was non-conference. It was he can't really shoot. Then he was on fire in the WCC, and then toward the end of the tournament, it was he's a little hesitant. It's not really falling. People weren't really using it as a true weapon, despite the numbers, unless it was a trailer three. I'm saying have more faith in the shot that's kind of been given to him throughout this.
Let's just address the weight. It's a thing. You're betting on the human being to get stronger. And at the end of the day, I don't know that there's any human being that you and I would bet on more than Chet Holmgren, right? Figuring it out. He is incredibly professional. He's incredibly competitive. That if you're betting on a person, this is the person to bet on. So I'm willing, if I didn't have that background intel, I would be much more on board with the questions about his frame. But I mean, Chet better than anyone in the public sphere. This is a situation where every flag is let alone, red flags, right? Obviously no red flags here. Every flag is green from a personality perspective. Right. It is just perfect, pristine go.
You're not seeing complacent, non-worker, low character for any of this stuff. He's committed to doing that. He's put on weight. He has. I know it seems insane because he still is out there. But if you go back and look pre-Gonzaga where he was, and I don't think the transformation is going to be as crazy as the Giannis stuff we've seen down the road, but he'll get there. He will. It's going to take some time. I don't think taking him number one, you expect him to be this unbelievable star guy from the jump, but he will get there.
Okay, Pennie, you're up. Number two.
Great. I prepped for this exact opposite order, but number two, I'm still very happy. As you said, a razor thin margin between these two guys, and I'm going to take Jabari Smith from Auburn. The fit here actually opens up me to take some more 5-ish type guys with the later Thunder pick, but we'll get there. Everyone needs a shooter. It helps that he's 6'10" and shoots 42% from three. Similar to Chet, I don't think he's going to be called upon to be a star. And I don't want to shortchange him either, because we talk about Chet's ceiling a lot and his upside being so high. Jabari Smith Jr. has a high ceiling too. I don't know if it's as astronomical as Chet's may be, but he's gotten better since high school in USA basketball. He plays with a real edge. And yeah, he needs to do more off the bounce, finish more by the rim. If he gets there and the defense allows him to guard 3s and 4s and a little bit of 2s and maybe just like hold on 5s for a second there, he's well deserving of the number 1 slot. I'd be very happy with him getting him 2nd overall. And at Oklahoma City too, he's okay with being a piece. And we're talking about pieces here. And I just look back to the current NBA playoffs, and people kind of poo-poo this draft a little bit. There's no true like number 1s. Jason Tatum has not been great all the time for the Celtics, but those number 2-ish guys are the reason that the Celtics are still in the series. Steph Curry was 7 for 22 from the field the other night. Golden State won by 10 because Jordan Poole was good and Klay Thompson was good. And Draymond Green steps up in moments. Andrew Wiggins had 26 points. So there's nothing wrong with being like not the number 1 option for a lot of places. If that's what he is at number 2 at Oklahoma City, it's a great building block to have at the top of the draft here.
Yeah, I don't look. I think Jabari and Chet are 1A and 1B. In terms of the way he fits with Oklahoma City, I love it. Like, I think it just makes a lot of sense. He's going to be such an impressive weapon as a scorer next to someone like Josh Giddey, slicing and dicing and making plays. Next to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's really going to space the floor for Oklahoma City in a way that Shai could use and Josh certainly needs. This is also a team that really loves to just let their bigs grab and go on the break under Mark Daniel. Like, Jabari Smith is going to be very comfortable rebounding the basketball, pushing in transition, finding Josh Giddey and then maybe running to a corner, or just going and creating something himself and pulling up for 3. We've seen a lot of that this year at Auburn. I think it is a pristine fit. I absolutely love everything that Jabari Smith brings to the table for Oklahoma City. It's a great acquisition, I think, there.
Yeah, great pick there. You are up number 3, my friend. For the Houston
Number
Rockets.
3, I am going Paolo Banchero to the Houston Rockets. And I am doing this in part. Look, I am someone who has Jaden Ivey in the same tier as Paolo Banchero, Chet Holmgren, and Jabari Smith.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, I love the idea of pairing Paolo Banchero with Jalen Green and let those two run a 2-man game that will be very, very impressive, that will actualize themselves, right? Paolo, I've mentioned before, he is a phenomenal passer and playmaker. His ability to short roll and then find kickouts to his teammates, his ability to just run offense, like you can just give him the ball straight up at the top of the key, or you can give him the ball and have him bring it up the court in transition. Have him run ball screens with Alperen Şengün. Like, Şengün, Banchero lineups, while I am terrified of those
defensively. What are we doing there?
If I am a Houston Rockets fan, those lineups are going to be incredibly fun offensively because both those guys can really pass. They can really play make with the ball in their hands. I love the idea of surrounding Jalen Green with guys who can really pass and make plays. You're going to be able to find, Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr. off of cuts. You're going to be able to find Alperen Şengün in the dunker spot. Like, oh my God. Paolo Banchero, in the dunker spot from Şengün passes. Right. It gives them so much flexibility in terms of making plays out of a motion offense. I think that I am a big fan of Paolo Banchero at number 3 to the Houston Rockets.
I am too. And I want to add something here from both you and I. And we talked to different sources, people here and there throughout the draft. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Paolo doesn't go 2 or maybe even 1. I don't think these picks are as set as they're being made out to be. He's looked phenomenal during the pre-draft process. He's gone in and crushed everywhere. The feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. I wouldn't be like taken aback and fall out of my chair. He ends up at 2. If he's there at 3, I similarly like the fit with Jalen Green. I would have night terrors about what we kind of do defensively and the other pieces we put around him, but too high of a prospect. I wouldn't hesitate because I took some front court guys last year. I wouldn't hesitate because Christian Wood's there. Paolo Banchero is too good. You take him off the board at 3, and that works for me.
Yeah, and I think he is a completely reasonable number 1 overall pick. The reason I don't have him at number 1 is I worry a little bit about the defense.
Yeah.
And I worry about what the defensive role is particularly. I think that, like, the question that I've been asking myself is there a world where we can play Paolo Banchero at center and not hemorrhage points defensively? I don't really think so. I think you're almost always going to want to play him with a center, but I also don't really want him running off of actions where like 4s can go up and set ball screens and set him up against 1s, right?
Yeah.
That worries me quite a bit. And then on top of it, the question here is one of scalability, right? Do you think that Paolo Banchero is ever going to be the number 1 option on like a conference finalist team?
My answer was yes until you said conference finalist team, which I would say maybe. I'm not there as him being the guy to push a team into the first round, the second round, beyond that. But how many guys really are there that we can say that? Maybe 10 at tops, right? Am I putting in that conversation? No. Can you run the offense through him because of his passing, because of his shot creation? Yeah, you can. Right. Does that translate to winning if the defense isn't necessarily there? TBD. But he's the guy I'd say most in this class that would fit that bill if I just had to blindly make that call right here, right now.
Yeah, and my thing is that it's a question of scalability to winning situations on the elite level. And maybe that's overthinking it on some level, right? I think that Jabari Smith and Chet Holmgren are just a little bit more scalable to like NBA finalist teams or conference finalist teams, whereas Paolo is going to be great on offense and I believe in him. I just worry a little bit about what the role looks like defensively in terms of scalability to winning situations in the playoffs. But
frankly, that's why I have him at 3 and not 1 or 2.